The word cancel culture, the term didn't exist when I started my book, but it came along and I thought it was actually very appropriate and I grabbed it. Some people say cancel culture is just criticism that, white males like me don't like. Not true. What's called canceling is a sophisticated form of information warfare. And a good broad definition, I think, is that it organizes and manipulates the social environment in order to dominate the public conversation. And it can be used to make small groups of people seem much more prevalent and influential than they are, and to intimidate much larger groups of people. And it does that by contravening the core idea of the constitution of knowledge. The reality-based community, that's science, journalism, law, and government, the four institutions that must remain moored to the constitution of knowledge, or we become an oppressive and ignorant and warlike society. They all have in common that you're allowed to make mistakes. Life goes on. It doesn't end your career. It just means you lose the argument. Cancel culture says, Dan says one wrong word, or even he says something that's not a wrong word, but I and all my friends think it is, and we start a performative mob attack on Dan. One mistake in your career can be over. You can be fired from your job. You can lose tenure and your job at a university. It's just happened to a professor at Princeton. You lose your reputation. You're known as a racist. It's what comes up about you whenever you Google. You lose your friends, your social connections, all because a small group of organized but very outspoken people decided to make an example of you in order to chill the conversation of a lot of other people. There's nothing new about this. Alexis de Tocqueville came to America in 1835, and he says the biggest threat to freedom in America is not from the government, it's from what we call cancel culture, what he called the tyranny of majority opinion. Turned out minorities could do it too.
Yeah.
And it involves creating what are called spirals of silence in sociology. So this is a self-reinforcing dynamic that I can create if I can give the impression that everyone agrees with me. People who disagree will increasingly feel isolated. They'll read the room, they'll say, well, no one agrees with me, I must be wrong, or I don't want to be cast out. The more people fall silent, because other people fall silent. And it turns out you can get into an emperor's new clothes situation in which there's an implicit majority in the room for an opinion which is not being stated. And the people in the room are going along with the false consensus because they think everyone else is in favor of the false consensus. Well, it turns out a very efficient way to create a spiral of silence is through social media. Because on social media, using algorithmic optimization and bots and very aggressive trolling and pile-ons, which are easy to organize, I can make it seem that the world is caving in on Dan Riley. I can organize 1,000 people to go after you on Twitter, call you a racist, and it will seem to you like your life is coming to your career is coming to a catastrophic end. So you'll fall silent. Others will see that and do the same. This is, again, it's nothing new. This is what the Soviet Union did, creating spirals of silence. But it turns out social media is very well adapted to it. And that's why we're getting so much of the chilling that I alluded to earlier.